Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. Alright, let's go ahead and we'll start a new series for you here based on your suggestions. I'm going to probably do these throughout the week and then probably do them about 4 or 5 in total, so be on the lookout for the rest of these videos later on. This one, I have not heard of this urban legend before, and what's interesting about it is that half of the urban legend is absolutely true. The other half, though, is the part that truly makes it its urban legend status, and that is still up for debate as of right now. So be on the lookout in a couple minutes to see why I mentioned that, because one part is absolutely 100% there. The person did live and then died, and then the other part is the one that's up for debate. By the way, I'm going to be showing pictures that are a little gruesome, so these are the only probably the only time that I'll be able to do so, only because I have to. I mean, it's the only way to talk about this particular gentleman. So those of you that are a little bit squeamish, fair warning on this part. But what I'm talking about is the urban legend known as the Green Man, who was a real person, and he went by the name of Raymond Robinson, but he was also called Ray, and you'll see a picture of him here. This is why I was saying earlier it's a little bit gruesome, because the urban legend is tied to his disfigurement. And here's what happened. This poor guy, back when he was about 8 years old, he was born in 1910, so think of it like around 1918 or so. There he was, a little boy living outside of Beaver Falls, and he was trying to view a bird's nest. And when he was trying to get a closer look to that bird's nest, he came across a bridge of some sort that had electrical lines to it. You can actually see a picture of that bridge here. This electrical line apparently gave electricity to the trolley that would go back and forth, and he was trying to get an even closer view of the bird's nest. Being 8 years old, he had no idea that grabbing some of those lines resulted in 22,000 volts going right through you. So he took hold of that particular line, and then that was it. He was electrocuted, instantly electrocuted, and he lost everything. He lost his eyes, he lost his nose, he lost one ear, and he lost one arm. He was severely disfigured because of it. He was expected to die within about a year from his injuries, but miraculously he survived them. And from 8 years going forward up until he died in 1985, he lived about 74 years. There he was in Pennsylvania at that point, living what for all intents and purposes was about as normal as life as can be. He lived up to 74 years of age because he did not let this defect, whatever occurred to him, this disfigurement, to slow down his life. He spent most of his days at home. Obviously, he couldn't get like any kind of job. He would have to have people take care of him as far as relatives, but he at the same time was not somebody that was letting this disfigurement hamper him down, because what he would do, according to people, is he would sell things by making them. Like, he would make his own doormats, he would make wallets, he would make belts, and people would come to buy them. He got a little bit of notoriety, in fact, which is amazing to think about it. Here's a guy who has no eyes, only one ear, and it's probably so much damage that even then it's hard for him to hear. He has no nose, and he has one arm, and yet there he was making wallets, making belts, making doormats for people to buy. So how fascinating would that be to purchase something like this from somebody? It makes you wonder about others and their difficulties and their disabilities. And then here's this guy who, for all intents and purposes, should be just doing nothing, and yet there he is, still trying to do things. This was so much so to the point that another notoriety for him was every single night he would go on for long walks on a stretch of State Route 351, and this was his daily routine. Every single night he would go out, he would use a walking stick, and then he would use the walking stick to feel his way around for who knows how long he walked. The description was that he walked for a long time, presumably miles, and this gained a bit of notoriety because the locals there would eventually come out at the same time that he was, and they would talk to him, they would walk with him, they would guide him. Some of them were curious neighbors, others were cruel people. He didn't really seem to mind. He didn't really seem to care. They would ask him if they could take photographs of him, and he would apparently say yes, as long as they would provide him, beer or cigarettes. Then yeah, he was happy with it. And that's what he did for the longest time. He would just live there, make his things, go out at night, and then continue every single day thereafter. Eventually, he stopped doing this because he was struck by several cars more than once. So it obviously made sense at that point for him not to continue to do this anymore. And then later on in life, he died at a geriatric center, a place called the Beaver County Geriatric Center, and he died there in 1985 at 74 years old after he was retired. So fascinating life. I mean, here's a guy again who had every reason to be mad at the world for what happened to him, but no, he just decided to go ahead and just live out the best that he could. And it'll be interesting to see where his possessions, like the doormats, the wallets, the belts that he made, where they ended up now, because no doubt there's some kind of collection, important collection tied to them. So that's the real part of this urban legend. All of that is 100% real. Obviously, the photographs exist, the stuff that he made exists, the encounters that people had with him, those are 100% real. Where the urban legend comes into play is the fact that later on in life, in that Pittsburgh area, as the decades passed, his story eventually took on its own life of its own. People living in that area would recount to their children and then to their children's children, because again, this was a guy that lived up to 74 years of age. They would say about their encounters. And you know that game, whenever you're talking to somebody in one ear, they pass it along to another person in another year. By the time you finish a whole line, the story is completely different from the beginning. Same thing that happened here. His whole life took on a weird reality of some sort. People would begin saying that he was an employee of a power company who, just like something straight out of a comic book, was hit by some kind of power line or struck by some kind of lightning, and because of it, he started to glow green, or he had holes in his cheek where you could see like greenish skin emanating from it. Also, people apparently state that that route that he takes throughout 351, people would see some kind of glowing green man move around that particular area, which is fascinating to note because anyone who follows anything involving ghosts and supernatural entities and paranormal stuff, they state that when someone does something for so long in an area, and they do it out of love or in some cases out of hate, whenever they die, their entity, their ghost, their whatever, is seen roaming that area, trying to continue that cycle. There's a term for that phenomenon, but it doesn't come to mind. It was chronicled one time on that good show, Ghost Adventures, and they mentioned that term as well, but my apologies, I can't think of it. But some people that are, again, around that State Route 351 see this, and that could explain it. He frequented for this route for so long, every single night, for who knows how many decades, that there he is probably still roaming it at night, and who knows, his glowing green skin could be there, his skin could just be translucent like a ghost, who knows, but there he could be at night, again roaming it, trying to continue his daily cycle even after death. So that's the urban legend part. That's the idea that his ghost, like a ghost story of sorts, took away from the real life of Raymond Robinson, and in turn became the urban legend that we know of now of the Green Man. Fascinating stuff. People still talk about the Green Man to this day there in Pittsburgh. So if anyone has any more stories that they can tell about this urban legend, particularly the second half, if anyone has any tales about encounters with the Green Man or seeing something like the Green Man, I tried to see if there were any pictures of the urban legend itself, but they're few and far between, nothing essentially. So we all have to rely pretty much on stories at this point. So if anyone has any such tales, please post them below. It'll be fascinating to hear. So there you go, Raymond Robinson, otherwise known as Ray Robinson, and also more commonly known today as the Green Man. Fascinating stuff. So alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.